It is Tuesday, March 26th, 6th, God, of 2019. It's bowling night here on Guy's Daily Drive. And good afternoon to one and all here on Guy's Daily Drive. Yeah, boy, sometimes anticipating something, the anticipation of something that you think you want, is better than the actual thing itself. Sometimes. And in this particular case, last week, if you're an Apple fan, last week was nuts. I mean, you had new earpods, which really weren't all that new, but you could now get them with a wireless case. So yay for wireless cases. I have a pair of first gen earpods. Can't really see myself replacing them for any reason. You had new iMacs. These iMacs, though. Just last year, I bought refurbed. It was not the iMac Pro, it was top of the line iMac. 4-core i7, 8 gigs of video RAM. I mean, just all around screaming type of machine. And if I had the money, I would get one of these new iMacs. 8-core iMac. That's with the same kind of, 8 gigabyte Radeon graphics chip processor, GPU. I mean, that's just such an awesome machine. Too bad it's crippled with Apple's Fusion drives. You can get it with up to 2 terabytes of digital storage, an SSD. But you really should be prepared to spend a lot of money for that. And then, of course, there was also the new iPad Air. And after an absence of 4 years, an iPad Mini. Who would have seen that coming? And then there was like nothing for the rest of the week. That was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They dropped all this stuff. And then Thursday, Friday came along, nothing. We were waiting for the big Apple event that took place yesterday, where they were finally going to reveal more information about their TV service. Sometimes things should be left in the bag. However, there was some cool stuff that came out of it. They started off kind of talking about Apple Pay. Sorry. Talking about Apple Pay and how it's accepted in a lot of banks around the world, and it's number one growing payment service, and do it with your face, do it with your finger, and I was kind of like, okay, you know what, I'm used to this. This is what I've been dealing with for a couple of years. And then out of the blue, they talked about something that I honestly have absolutely no use for, but I'm going to get one anyway because it's just so friggin' cool. Apple's got this thing about privacy, and I'm delighted that they take privacy so seriously, especially when they're handling payments. But they're going to offer through, which bank is it? Some big bank, international bank. It's a titanium, literally, it's a titanium credit card with a chip built into it, and your name etched in the titanium. There'll be no account number on it. There'll be no CCV number, security number on it. Just the chip in your name. And that's for those merchants who short-sightedly do not yet accept Apple Pay. And it's going to be a MasterCard, so it'll be accepted pretty much everywhere. Hold on a second. Woo! We are flying. I'm running a little bit late, so I needed to get going here on my way to bowling because I've been really busy at work. So that was all the Apple Pay stuff. And then they talked about a game service, talked about how this is the first game service for desktops and laptops and mobiles and blah, 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 blah. And, the whole time they're talking, it's like, Google just released the Stadia service just like a few days before. And they're also going to be available desktop, laptop, and mobile. So I don't see what the big deal is there. And, I guess the game service from Apple could be cool. They showed a couple of games, but they didn't really talk about the mechanics of it. And this was a common theme throughout most of this presentation, where, they talked about the content more than they talked about how this was going to work. And that spilled over into the TV announcement, Apple TV Plus. No new hardware. It is going to be available for certain brands, smart TVs, Samsung, LG, Vizio, and then there's one more. What did surprise me, they talked about it also going to be available on the Roku platform and Amazon's Fire platform. So you won't necessarily have to have an Apple TV to access Apple TV Plus. Now, my question is, will you then also be able to access your purchased iTunes content on like a Roku or an Amazon Fire TV? Because if you can, then chances are the Apple TV, the hardware, is not long for this world. I can't see the point of continuing to create the Apple TV box if you'll be able to do all the same things with a Roku, an Amazon Fire Stick or box, or if it's built into your smart TV. What's the point of having a little box at that point? I mean, Apple TV Plus at that point just pretty much becomes another application on your TV or other box. It wasn't really clear. Then they started talking about sort of how it works. They demoed a little bit on how the navigation for Apple TV Plus, the application, is going to work, but it left me more confused than anything else. I didn't really see anything there that was all that revolutionary. It looked pretty much like the same interface we've had going back to at least the third gen, the first black square Apple TV. So with that being the case, what was the breakthrough? Didn't really seem to be one that I could tell. And then for like the last hour of the presentation, they kept showing some of the original content that Apple is going to produce for Apple TV Plus, and they dragged out like all the various stars that were going to be on some of these TV shows. And honestly, call me old-fashioned, but when major networks, CBS, ABC, NBC, here in the United States, used to do their it was like a preview of upcoming fall television shows. That's when all the new shows came out, was in the fall. They would, whoa, dude! They would take, I almost got hit. They would take stars from a current show that was popular, and they would have them, sometimes in character, lead you through the rest of the new shows that were coming up. For example, one that I watched recently, it was CBS for 1966 or 67, and it was the premiere of the Bob Crane show Hogan's Heroes, and they had Bob Denver and Alan Hale Jr. from Gilligan's Island come out, and they did, this silly little comedy skit in backstage of CBS Studios, mostly in character, though they kind of jumped in and out the way that was working. But they talked about the new shows and how great they were going to be, and they had stars from some of the other shows make like little cameos as they were doing this backstage thing. And it took like 20 minutes, 20 minutes tops. And they went over every single new show that was coming up. And it was entertaining. This entire hour that Apple used to show off some of this new content was just such a snooze fest. I'm serious. The whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, all right. Can we move on to something else now? Can we get on to the next thing? And they just never did. They stuck with it the entire time, and they had Oprah Winfrey and Jennifer Aniston and I don't know, a whole bunch of other people who, for the most part, I don't know or didn't recognize. And it did not leave me enamored in wanting to watch these new shows that Apple's coming out with. So, and then the worst mistake that they didn't talk about the price. They didn't talk about how much Apple TV Plus was going to cost, whether it might be bundled in with some other services like Apple Music or the new News Plus app. Oh, for God's sake, that they have. I'm stuck here behind cars. None of it. There was just like not much information there, and there should have been. There should have been more information. So that was pretty much the end of their presentation, what it was they were doing. And it mostly just left me cold. I just didn't see the point of most of it. So I'm almost at the bowling alley. So I think I'll just wrap this up. I'll be talking more about this tomorrow night in the Mac to the Future livecast. Mac to the Future Go livecast with Warren Sklar, hopefully. I don't know if he's back from vacation yet. And David Ginsburg. I'm sure we'll be talking about it next week on the MyMac.com podcast that I do with Mr. Mr. Gazmaz. And if you would like to help support the things that I do, like the MyMac Podcast, Guy's Daily Drive, and the Mac the Future Go livecast, he said, hesitating for some reason. A good way to do it is go to Patreon, patreon.com. Look me up there, /MacParrot. Or at coffee.com, ko-fi.com, /MacParrot. You can make a one-time donation. You can make it like a regular thing. Anything that you would like to give to help support the things that I do is greatly, greatly appreciated. And there are some rewards that go along with it. You can look at all that stuff that's there at Patreon. And if you would like to speak with me, I have an email address. Naturally, it is guy@mymac.com. I have a couple of Twitter handles. One of them is MacParrot that I've had like forever. The other one is related to my relatively new website, vertshark.com, and that Twitter handle is, unsurprisingly, vertshark. And that will do it. I believe I am pulling up to the bowling alley right now. So thank you all for downloading and watching or listening to Guy's Daily Drive. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.